So I'm posting this video on Super Bowl Sunday. I'm filming this prior from Super Bowl Sunday. And the reason why I'm posting it on Super Bowl Sunday is because of the Fast and Furious 10 trailer dropping on Super Bowl Sunday. So I kind of want to cash in on that. So this is my Fast and Furious garage. This is an updated version. I did add cars from Fast 9 that I didn't have in my video from 2021. And my video from 2021, there's no commentary. There is nothing really to that video except me just showing off the cars. So I'm just gonna give myself some commentary with this video. So if you guys do go on and enjoy this video, like would be appreciated. Subscribe to the channel. Yeah, let's get right into it. Now the cars from Fast and Furious 1 to Fast and Furious 7 are all underneath my nightclub. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So, obviously right here we have Brian's Supra from Fast and Furious 1. I'm going first person for all these cars. And yeah, not much to really say about this car. We all know about it. You can get this car for $700,000. This is the Jester Classic. And not a bad car. Not a bad price for it either. But yeah, that's pretty much Brian's Supra. Now moving on to Dom's Charger. I believe this is the regular Imponte Dukes. You can make this out of the Beater Dukes as well, but I got this before the Beater Dukes came out. Yeah, you can get this car for about $70,000, and you can model it look really close to Dom's Charger for the movie. Now moving on over here is Dom's RX-7. Now this is not the RX-7 in GTA, that being the ZR350. This is actually the Banshee 900R, but I think the Banshee 900R looks more like the Fairlady RX-7 than the ZR350 does, and also I believe the livery looks a little bit better. They have the actual livery for Dom's RX-7 for the ZR350, but again, the ZR350 doesn't look anything like the Fairlady RX-7, so I decided to just stick with the Banshee 900R. And not much to really say about this car again. It's not that close to the movie, but it's the closest we get for GTA standards. But yeah, let's move on to this car. Now this, the Penumbra FF or the Mitsubishi Eclipse. Obviously, this is Brian's car from the intro to Fast and Furious 1 and before, you know, it got blown up. And yeah, I really I love this car. I bought this car like 4 times. 2 times for the Fast and Furious garage build, and 2 times for like my own personal build. And yeah, I just love this car. Like it's such a great looking car. The livery is so on point, and this car looks almost identical to the real life variant. But yeah, let's move on to Leon's R35 GTR. R35? Oh no, R33. Yeah, R33, not R35. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, this is based off his R33 GTR, and it was only seen really briefly in the intro of Fast and Furious 1. And it's the funny thing is the name of his livery is Later Pizza Boy. But over here we got Dom's Chevelle SS, and this is a tulip in GTA Online. This is a relatively cheap car. It's under $100,000. I don't have the exact pricing on top of my head right now, but you can easily model this car. I believe you can get this car off the street as well. You don't have to buy it. But yeah, it's a nice looking car, very cheap, like I said before. And yeah, moving on to Too Fast, Too Furious. This obviously being Brian's GTR R34, or his Skyline, that was seen in the beginning of Too Fast, Too Furious. Is like one of the most popular cars in the franchise. And of course, the LG Retro Custom, same car as Leon's GTR right here, LG Retro Custom. So yeah, this is such a nice looking car, nice silver. And the livery is not completely spot on, but it's basically like drawing his car by memory. Like, oh, what the livery look like? And it's basically, you would draw something like this. I just love just showing this car off in free mode before I get blown up by an oppressor. But I just love showing this car off in free mode. And yeah, like I said, this is like one of the most popular cars in Fast and Furious. When you think of Fast and Furious, you think of this car right here. But moving on to, I forgot the name of the character. Jesus, I'll have the name up on the screen. But this is based off of his RX-7 again. There is an actual RX-7 in the game, but the RX-7 that was in Too Fast, Too Furious was a Fairlady. It wasn't, you know, your pop-up headlights RX-7, so I couldn't really use the ZR350, so again, I used a Banshee 900R. I thought this car was actually pretty underrated in Too Fast, Too Furious, but yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about this car right here. I just think it was really underrated. And now moving on to Suki's Honda S2000. Another iconic car. It's nowhere near as iconic as Brian's GTR, but it is in the same scene, in the racing scene from Too Fast, Too Furious. And yeah, you can't get the exact livery, so you're better off getting this livery. I believe this livery is called the Sword Boy livery. The Dinka RT3000, that's the name of the car in the game. It is super close to the actual car, the real life variant, the Honda S2000. it is super close to the real life variant, and that's what I love about this car. And I'm moving on to, again, I forgot the name of this character. He did have a Supra in the beginning race for Too Fast, Too Furious. I forgot his name. He was such a minor character, so like compared to Suki and Brian. So this is another Jester classic. Again, another Supra. Man, I'm gonna feel so stupid not remembering the names. I haven't seen the movies in a good minute, but I'm gonna feel so stupid not remembering the names of the owners of these cars. But yeah, this is another one of the cars that are featured in the intro race to Too Fast, Too Furious. Now let's move on to the next garage. Now in this garage, I have the cars from Too Fast, Too Furious, Tokyo Drift, Fast and Furious 4, and some from Fast 5. So some of these cars are out of chronological order from the movie releases, so just bear with me here. For example, this is out of order. This is from Tokyo Drift. This is the Sylvia that Sean drove in the beginning of the movie when he met Han at the garage in Tokyo, and he used this car to race, and he lost the race. He ended up banging up the car. This was a fun car to build. This car came out with tuners update. This is the Remus. It's based off of Sylvia S13. Unfortunately, there's no Sylvia S15 in GTA 5. So I had to work with this because this is like the closest thing. It is a Sylvia, but it's S13. The one in the movie was S15. So I had to work with this car. And yeah, this car, it looks pretty close to the one in the movie. Like, obviously, like I said before, like they can't like use the exact liveries and exact like fenders and bumpers, but I believe it's a nice looking car, honestly. It's good for drifting as well. And moving on to back to Too Fast, Too Furious, we got the Camaro that they got for the pink slip race. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is the Ejectocito Camaro. I could be wrong, but I hope I'm not. It was either this car or this car that was the Ejectocito. If you guys know what I'm talking about, when Roman was driving. You guys know the scene. And yeah, this is a nice car. Again, you can get this off the street for free. If not, you're gonna pay about $30,000. And I got this off the street for free, so lucky me, I saved $30,000. Not much more to say about this car. It was in the final scene of Too Fast, Too Furious. I'm pretty sure this was the car that they used to crash into the yacht. It could have been, again, I haven't seen the movie in a few years, so it could have been this one or this one. Hopefully I'm right on that. Don't come for me in the comments if I'm wrong. But moving on to the Challenger that was raced for pink slips in Too Fast, Too Furious. And again, they're both shared in the same scenes. They were in the final scenes when they were trying to bust the main bad guy of the movie, and also their race for pink slips as well. And honestly, this car should not have been able to beat this car in the pink slip race, but you know, Fast and Furious logic, I guess. Such a nice looking car. It's kind of expensive too. I believe it's about $600,000 buy, and then that's without the modifications. So this is a very expensive car if you want to buy it. It's the Bravado Gauntlet Classic. But yeah, let's move on to the next car, which is another Eclipse or Penumbra FF. And the livery isn't as spot on as like the other cars, but because we don't have a Gen 3 Eclipse in GTA 5, this is a Gen 2, and they don't have a Gen 3 Eclipse, so I had to end up using this. I had to work with the Gen 2. And yeah, the livery isn't completely spot on. And the livery was so ugly in the movie, and this is not a really good looking livery in the game either. But I just got a little purple with a silver pearlescent. And yeah, not much more to say about these cars really. But let's move on to the next car. This would be Brian's Evo that he drove with Roman in the beginning of Too Fast, Too Furious. And this is also the car they used to win the pink slip races. And yeah, again, not much more to say about this car really. I didn't know what to paint this, because in the movie it looks yellow to me. But when I looked up on YouTube how to paint this car, or how to model the Evo from Too Fast, Too Furious, a lot of people were telling me, or not, they weren't telling me, they're saying in the video tutorials, oh, you gotta make it lime green, you gotta make it this color. I just made it dew yellow. And yeah, this is the Sultan RS. So this is a Benny's vehicle. Quite expensive actually, it's $700,000 mod. But yeah, let's move on to Tokyo Drift. Again, this is the same car, just different bumpers and fenders. This is the same car, the Sultan RS. This is Sean's Evo. I love this car in the movie. In the movie, this car looks fantastic. And it doesn't look that much from the movie. Like, if you saw this car at first glance, you'd be like, oh, that's from Tokyo Drift. But if closer look, you realize this is not based off an Evo. This is based off of a Subaru WRX, I believe it's called. So there's no real Evo in GTA Online. Again, I had to work with what I got. And it came out really well. And I do like this car a lot. I love just driving around this because a lot of people recognize this as Sean's Evo from Tokyo Drift. And again, it's It's probably one of my favorite cars in the franchise. Yeah, now moving on to Hans RX-7. Again, the ZR350, like I said before, the ZR350 is a pop-up headlights RX-7, and this is based off of the, I believe, the Fairlady RX-7. So two completely different body kits. So it would make more sense to use the Banshee 900R than the ZR350. And also, the livery looks a lot better on this than it does on ZR350. I don't even think the ZR350 has this livery. I think people just try to replicate Hans RX-7 by using the secondary colors, but this is an actual livery that comes with a Banshee 900R. This is actually really close looking to the car from Tokyo Drift, except for the headlights and then the bolt-on fenders. But other than that, it looks super close to the car in the movie. That car looks really good. I wish they would add that version of the RX-7 to GTA Online. I would pay like close to $2 million if they did add that car to GTA Online. But yeah, this is a great looking car. Let's move on to Sean's dad's Mustang. That's a mouthful. But yeah, at the end of Tokyo Drift, he ended up racing with DK and his Mustang. Not much more to say about this. Great looking car. Looks really nice. I just thought it was pretty funny how they swapped the engines from an Evo and they put the Evo engine into a Mustang, but great looking car. It just looks fantastic. And this car costs about $900,000, so you're gonna be breaking the bank if you're gonna be buying this. But again, like, come on, look at it. It looks great. Now, moving on to Fast and Furious 4 or Fast and Furious, the soft reboot of the series. There wasn't a lot of iconic cars from that movie compared to the previous three movies. So the only car I can think of that was iconic enough to be like added to this garage would have to have been Brian's GTR R34. And here it is. This car, the LG Retro Custom, it's actually a mix between the R32, R33, and R34. So it's not going to look exactly like the R34. It's just going to look like a weird like hybrid almost. But I think it's a pretty good build. Like if you're trying to get as close as possible, this is the car you're going to want to use. But yeah, I really do like this car a lot. And again, this is another car. This is another car you can just drive out the garage, and then other players will recognize it. Like, oh, that's Paul Walker's Skyline, and they'll recognize it and they'll blow you up. But yeah, let's move on to this car from Fast 5. This would be the Corvette. I think Dom's sister drove this car during the train heist scene, I believe. And yeah, not much to say about this. It was a small car that was featured in the movie. It wasn't used in any other scenes, but it is a great looking car. And I got it for free because I have the Criminal Enterprise starter pack. But I believe it's like $300,000 if you don't have the Criminal Enterprise starter pack. It's only $300,000 to get this car. And yeah, it's a great looking car, like I said. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this part of the garage. Let's move on to the last part of the garage, I believe. Yeah, so I was right. This is the last part of the garage. These cars are cars from Fast 5, Fast and Furious 6, and Fast and Furious 7. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. So this is Brian's older GTR model. I forgot, for the life of me, I forgot what the name of this car was in real life. But if you want this in the game, it's the Warner. It's only $150,000, a relatively cheaper car. And this was in Fast 5, and it was seen very briefly, again, just like the Corvette. Fast 5 and Fast 4, there wasn't really like a lot of iconic cars, so I had to work with what I can like really see in the movies. Great looking car, and it's super cheap, so you may as well get it if you have the money. It's only $150,000. But yeah, the Warner. And again, this is based off of the older model GTR. Now moving on to the Insurgent. I don't know what the hell this is based off of in real life. I just know that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Hobbs drove this in Fast 5. And this is like his signature vehicle throughout the series. So yeah, this is the Insurgent. And yeah, not much to it. I just made mine gray. I think it's black or gray, one of the two. But yeah, there's not much to really elaborate on with this. Now, I believe this is either at the end of Fast 5 or the beginning of Fast 6, or maybe both. This is a GTR R35 that Brian drove. Again, I don't know if it was at the end of Fast 5 or the beginning of Fast 6, so I could be wrong, or it could have been both. But yeah, I know, I'm a fake fan, I know. But yeah, you can get this car for free. It's the LG RH8. You can get this car for free. It's such a nice looking car. And in GTA Online in general, the LG RH8 is super underrated because people usually just grab this car and they convert it at Benny's. But for a long time, this is like a very fast car in GTA Online before they added more cars, obviously. But for a long time, this is like the fastest sports car in the game. and it is a good looking car, and it's based off of a great car in real life as well. Let's move on to the Ford Escape from Fast and Furious 6, or in game it's called the Vapid Rutune. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Rutenu. All right, so this was on the bridge scene with the tank. Brian drove this great looking car. This car costs about $600,000. If you guys want to, go ahead and buy this, and it looks pretty close. Besides those little headlight covers at the bottom, this looks really, really close to the car that was in the movie. Now moving on to, I'm not sure if this is Dom's or this is Letty's. Dom's or Letty's Daytona Charger, and this is a Gauntlet Classic Custom. And again, I'm not sure if this is Dom or Letty's, but I got a garnet red with a silver pearlescent. This is such a great looking car. This is like one of my favorite sports classic cars in GTA Online. For Fast and Furious standards, this car isn't as iconic as the other cars you guys seen, but seeing this car, I believe this car is actually on the cover of Fast and Furious 6, but yeah, this is a great car. Now, I know the Dominator GTT is in the game, but I wanted to use the Rapid GT Classic for the Fastback Mustang, and this is Roman's from Fast and Furious 6. Again, this is on the bridge scene, and I chose this car in particular, not because it was cheaper or anything, but because of the interior. It matches with what was in the movie, to me at least. And I know this is not actually a Mustang, this is based off of an Aston Martin, but it does look pretty close to the car that was in the movie. And yeah, not much to really say about this. This car was just only in that one scene. That's about it. I believe this car, yeah, I'm just remembering now. The tank destroyed this car by running it over. But yeah, great looking car. And yeah, that's pretty much all I gotta say about that. Now moving on to Fast and Furious 7. Now this is Deckard Shaw's Jaguar F-Type. Great looking car. This car looks fantastic. And this car is relatively expensive. I believe it's about 1.3 million on the website in GTA Online. And yeah, this car was in the opening scene of Fast and Furious 7. I'm pretty sure he destroyed it in the beginning of the movie. I believe it's when he crashed into Dom underneath the bridge in the beginning of Fast and Furious 7. I could be wrong. It could be a different car. But this is such a nice looking car. And over here we have Letty's Challenger. I believe this is one of the cars that they drove out of the airplane. I could be wrong. They had like a parachute attached to the cars. And this is like the most iconic car from that scene, so I chose this car. And the stock rims, they don't really match. But yeah, as you can see, the rims, they don't really match from the movie, but I had to work with what I had, Rockstar. But yeah, if you want to replicate this car, it's going to cost you about $700,000. This is the Gauntlet Hellfire. It's been in the game for a few years, and yeah, pretty much all I gotta say about this car. Now moving on to this car, the Reaper. And I try to base this off of the Lincoln Hypersport that they drove out the building, the Lincoln Hypersport. And if you guys don't remember, Dom and Brian, they stole this car and they drove it out of these giant skyscrapers, and they drove it, I believe it was like 4 buildings, and they crashed it into the ground. But yeah, this car is super expensive in GTA Online. I believe it's like $2.2 million. And yeah, not much really more to say about this car. It doesn't look super close, but it's as close as we're going to get for GTA Online standards. And now moving on to the LG RH8. And again, this car was in Fast and Furious 7. And this is the car that they use at the end of the movie. This is, again, based off of a GTR R35. Again, you can get this car for free. Great looking car. I think I made this pretty close to as much as I possibly could have. Like I said, I think this looks really close to the car that was in the movie. But yeah, let's move on to the Fast and Furious 8 garage, or the Fated Furious garage. Alright, so now we're in the Fast and Furious 8, or Fated the Furious garage. Yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into it. And right here, I forgot what the name of this car was. This is the junk car that Dom drove during the Cuban Mile scene in the beginning of Fate of the Furious. Basically, the best I could do to replicate that car. It was all rusty and whatnot. Like, it was also falling apart during the race, but I couldn't really get that. But this is the closest I can really get from that scene from the movie. And yeah, pretty much all I really gotta say about that. And this car is also in the beginning of Fate of the Furious. This is the car that he was racing against in that scene. And I'm not sure if that car in the movie was a Bel Air, but this is a Bel Air, and in the game it's called the Tornado. Fantastic car, obviously. It's also really cheap. I believe it's like under $100,000 if you want to buy it. So I just went and bought this, got some red rims, and called it a day, really. And yeah, great looking car. Also, it was a great looking car in the movie too as well. Guys, moving on to the next car, this being Letty's Corvette. This is the car that she used in the chase scene in New York. I really did like this car in the movie, and it's just really basic build. It's made it all red, and yeah. And now moving on to the Bentley that Roman Pierce is driving. And this car is not a Bentley in GTA Online, but the with the color scheme of this car, it's the closest I could have got. And really not much to say about this car. This car is a super basic build. If you guys want to go ahead and make this build yourself, this is the Windsor, and I forgot what the price was. I'm pretty sure I got it for free because I have GTA Criminal Enterprise starter pack. So again, really basic car, really basic build, just like the Corvette over here. Yeah, let's move on over here to the Plymouth GTX that Dom was driving in New York. Again, they don't have this car in the games. I had to work with what I had, so I just went and got the Deviant. The Deviant, I believe it ranges between, I believe it's somewhere between $700 to $900,000. Really basic build, really. I didn't really add much to this car besides maybe changing the rims, and maybe I changed the bumper. I could be wrong, but yeah, this looks nothing like the car from the actual movie. But again, I had to work with what I had. Yeah, over here we have this is the car Ludacris drove, the Mercedes. I forgot what kind of Mercedes this was, but this is the car he drove in New York. They're chasing Dom. And this car looked super nice in the movie. And again, this is GTA, so it's not going to look exactly like the one from the movie. But again, I thought this car looked closest to that car. And again, this is based off a Mercedes, so went ahead and just chose this car for this video, or this garage actually. Now, I don't know what this car is based off of in the movie, or what this car in GTA Online is based off of in real life. But in game, it's called the Brawler. It's about $700,000. Again, I don't know what this is based off of, but this was the car that Letty drove in that scene when they were in Antarctica or in Russia. I don't know where the hell they were at. I haven't seen the movie in a few years. But yeah, this is the car she drove. Not much to really say about that. A really simple build, really, has made it silver. And I'm pretty sure that this little brace at the front comes with the car. Not really much to say about that. But yeah, let's move on to this car right here. Now, this is the car that Roman Pierce drove in the snow, Antarctica, Russia chase scene. Again, I don't know where the hell that location was based on. But this is the orange Lamborghini that he drove. He loved this car. But this is probably the stupidest car you can probably choose to use on ice. But great looking car. If you want to get this car, it's called the Infernus in GTA Online. It's about $400,000. Great looking car. Relatively cheap as well. Not really much more to say about this car. Let's move on to the final car from Fast and Furious 8 or Fate and Furious. That'd be Dom's Ice Charger. A lot of people chose to use the Gauntlet Classic, but I chose to use the Duke of Death because the Duke of Death is armored just like the ice car that he used in the movie, the Ice Charger, whatever the hell you want to call it. Although in the movie, this intake right here popping up from the hood was not in that scene or in the movie, but I just thought this is like the closest car we could probably get replicate that car in the movie because it is a Charger and it is armored just like the Ice Charger in Fast and Furious 8. Not really much to say about this. I just made it all silver. I believe the rims are stock. I could be, yeah, those are not stock rims. I'm stupid. Yeah, these are not stock rims. And yeah, not really much more to say about that. But yeah, let's move on to the final garage, that being the Fast and Furious 9 garage. Alright, so here we are at the final garage for Fast and Furious 9. And let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now right here is the Charger that Dom drove in the South America island scene. And I couldn't get the livery exactly as it was in the movie. I believe the livery was white striped, but I only could get blue stripes for this car. So I was very limited what I could do with this car. I made it all black. I forgot what rims those were, but not really much to add to this customization. But yeah, this is Dom's Charger he used in Fast and Furious 9. Now this is Jacob's Mustang, and maybe wondering, what the fuck, this is a Mustang? Like, yeah, this is the Vapid Dominator GTX. This came out years ago. Like, years ago in GTA Online, before they started replicating cars to look exactly, or almost exactly like the real-life variants. This is based off a newer Mustang, you know, post-2015 Mustang, and obviously they didn't do a good job because they didn't want to get sued for copyright. And this is the closest I really could have gotten with this car, and I just worked with what the game gave me. And yeah, this car did not age well at all in comparison to a lot of the new cars in GTA Online, so yeah, not much more to say about this. But yeah, this was the Mustang that Jacob used in the beginning of Fast and Furious 9. So in real life, this is called the Jaguar XE SV Project 8. This is the jugular. And this car was used in the London scene, I believe. Were they in London? I'm pretty sure they were. Yeah, this is the car that was seen in London. Yeah, not much to really say about this car. It was a pretty minor car, and it was a pretty minor scene this car was in, but it is a great looking car, and this car is in GTA, so I was like, you know what, may as well, put it in the garage. And yeah, not a lot to really say about this car. I do like this car a lot in GTA Online, but yeah, this is the car from Fast and Furious 9. No, I forgot what scene this was in. Crucify me all you want. I just forgot what scene this car was from. I do know this is a Honda NSX, and in-game it's called the Dinka Jester. And this car is relatively cheap. It's like under $300,000. And this is a pretty close build. This car is pretty close to the one that was in the movie. And I do like this car a lot in the game. I didn't really care about it in the movie because it was in such a short scene, but great looking car. And I would recommend it because it's under $300,000. So now this is the car I believe Deckard Shaw's mother drove in Fast 9 when after she robbed that jewelry store and Dom was her getaway driver or whatever. This is based off of McLaren. I'm not sure what the model is off the top of my head, but this in-game, it's called the Progen GP1. Great looking car, and not much more to say about this. You can't really customize this car as much as you can with the other cars. I don't know what the hell they're doing with the rear bumper. Looks like a DVR from the early 2000s. So this car is based off a Chevrolet Nova SS. This car was used. I believe it was that scene. It's really hard to describe the scene. It is, but it isn't. It's a fucking scene with a big ass truck and they're ramming the sides of it. And they had that anti-gravity shit in the rear of the truck, and it was like causing the truck to levitate in the air and dropping. Crazy ass scene, by the way. This was the car they used in that scene. And yeah, I forgot what the price of this car was. You're gonna be spending maybe $500,000 on it. Don't kill me if I'm wrong, but I think that's as much as you're gonna spend. Again, not much more to say about this car. Great looking car, but not much more to say about it. Let's move on to the next car. This is the Charger that Dom drove in Fast and Furious 9, and he drove this around in London. This is kind of like his go-to car throughout the movie. And he drove this in the London scene, or the scene in London, excuse me. And yeah, not much to really say about this. This is the Beater Dukes, and this car is about $400,000. Great looking car, very sleek, such a good. Not really much more to say about this car. It's just such a great looking car. But yeah, this car wasn't really seen that much in the movie, but again, a lot of these cars aren't, but they're in a particular scene where I felt like they had to be included in the garage. But yeah, let's move on to the last car of this garage. That being the Jester RR, or the Supra Mark V. Now, I couldn't really get the exact paint job with this Supra. This is the one that Han drove at the end of the movie when they were crashing into that semi-truck. And yeah, great looking car. I don't like the headlights that they have in the game. Like, the headlights don't look like the real life variants headlights, but I had to work with what I had. This is based off of a Super Mark V, and this is a great looking car. Great car. The livery, again, it's not super spot on. It's not an exact carbon copy of the movie. And speaking of carbon, I use a carbon hood because the secondary and primary colors, it didn't cover the hoods. So I was like, you know what, let me just use a carbon hood instead. So it might bother you if you're like looking at it like this, but if you're like looking at it like you just drive by this, like, oh, it's a black hood, but you walk up to it in a car meet, obviously it's carbon, but again, you gotta work with what you got. But yeah, that pretty much concludes this garage, that being the Fast and Furious 9 garage. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this entire video, and I couldn't keep all the cars under one roof, unfortunately. That would have made this video a lot faster to go through. For me at least, because I'm editing this video and filming it. But if you guys did go on to enjoy this video, like and comment would be appreciated. I would appreciate it a lot, actually, considering that I've been collecting these cars for about 4 years now, since about 2019. And I think I did a really good job replicating these cars. Like, again, a lot of these cars aren't going to be the exact carbon copy because, GTA and copyright laws, But I think I did a really good job of, replicating these cars from real life, from Fast and Furious to GTA Online. Like I said, if you guys did go on and enjoy this video, like and a comment will be appreciated. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And yeah, with all that out of the way, I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.